The Galactic Academy's Xenobiology lecture hall buzzed with the soft clicks, chirps, and hums of 200 alien students. Diana sat in the back row, her human frame looking deceptively fragile among the armored Croxians and the towering Velthari. She kept her head down, stylus moving across her datapad, trying to ignore the whispers. "That's the human," a Selkite student hissed to its companion. "From Earth. Can you imagine? Class 12 Deathworld." Diana's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. It had been 3 weeks since she'd arrived at the academy, and the novelty of having a human in their midst hadn't worn off. Most students gave her a wide berth, their instincts warning them of the apex predator in their midst, even if their conscious minds didn't understand why. Cooper, however, was different. The young Thalaxian had made it his personal mission to prove that humans weren't special. His species came from a Class 3 world. Gentle gravity, regulated climate, no megafauna larger than a domesticated grath. In his worldview, the Deathworld classifications were exaggerated, a bureaucratic overcorrection designed to intimidate. "Attention, class," Professor Zelthar announced, his tentacles undulating with excitement. "Today, we'll be examining live specimens from various world classifications. I've prepared containment fields with creatures ranging from Class 1 to Class 8 environments." A ripple of anticipation moved through the students. Diana glanced up, her dark eyes scanning the specimen cases being wheeled in on hovering platforms. She recognized a few, nothing that concerned her particularly. "Now," the professor continued, "I need a volunteer to help demonstrate proper handling techniques for Class 4 specimens." Cooper's hand shot up immediately. "I'll do it, Professor." Diana's eyes narrowed. She'd seen that look before, the swagger of someone trying to prove something. She leaned forward slightly. "Cooper, wait," she began, her voice quiet but clear. "The human speaks," Cooper announced, turning to face her with an exaggerated gesture that made several students recoil. "Please, enlighten us with your Deathworld wisdom. Are you going to tell us it's too dangerous?" His voice dripped with mockery, and a few of his friends chittered in amusement. Diana held his gaze for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was level, almost gentle. "That's a Zythian spine striker in the 3rd container. Its venom adapts to the victim's biochemistry. Your species doesn't have the enzyme to break it down. If it tags you, you'll be dead in 4 minutes." The lecture hall went silent. "The containment field," Cooper started, "has a 0.7-second delay on activation when the case is opened," Diana finished. "The striker moves at 40 meters per second. Do the math." Professor Zelthar's tentacles stiffened with alarm. "She's correct. Cooper, please return to your seat. I'll handle the demonstration myself." But Cooper's face had flushed a deep purple, the Thalaxian equivalent of embarrassment turning to anger. To back down now in front of everyone, after he'd made such a show of challenging the human? Unthinkable. "I'm not afraid," he declared, striding toward the specimen cases. "Cooper." Diana's voice cut through the room like a blade, and something in her tone made every student freeze. It wasn't loud, it wasn't aggressive. It was the voice of someone who had stared down things that would give them nightmares, and lived. "Don't." It was the first warning. Cooper hesitated for only a moment before his pride overrode his survival instincts. He reached for the 3rd container's release mechanism. Diana moved. One moment she was in her seat at the back of the hall. The next, she was across the room, her hand clamping down on Cooper's wrist with carefully controlled force. The Thalaxian yelped in surprise, stumbling backward. Inside the container, the Zythian spine striker had already begun its strike sequence, its crystalline spines glowing with accumulated venom. Diana's free hand slammed the emergency lockdown button on the container's side. The reinforced barriers snapped into place with a pneumatic hiss, triple-layered and unbreachable. The striker's spines shattered against the interior wall, venom splashing harmlessly against the transparent aluminum. The entire exchange had taken less than 2 seconds. Diana released Cooper's wrist and stepped back. The lecture hall remained utterly silent. Even Professor Zelthar seemed frozen, his tentacles rigid with shock. Cooper stared at Diana, his eyes wide, the deep purple of his skin slowly fading to a pale lavender. His hand trembled where she'd grabbed him, not from pain, but from the sudden, visceral understanding of what had almost happened. Diana didn't gloat, didn't lecture. She simply turned and walked back to her seat, her footsteps the only sound in the cavernous hall. "Class dismissed," Professor Zelthar said quietly. "We will resume tomorrow with proper safety protocols." As the students filed out in stunned silence, Cooper remained standing by the specimen cases, staring at the container that had nearly killed him. Diana packed her datapad, preparing to leave when she felt his presence beside her desk. Cooper's voice was barely a whisper. "Thank you. I'm sorry." Diana looked up at him. She saw the fear in his eyes now, not of her, but of his own mortality, suddenly made real. She'd seen that look before, too, on the faces of fellow colonists on Earth, right after they'd survived their first encounter with something that wanted to eat them. "We all make mistakes," she said softly. "The trick is living long enough to learn from them." Cooper nodded slowly and turned to leave. At the doorway, he paused. "Why did you save me after how I treated you?" Diana was quiet for a moment, remembering her childhood on Earth, where every day was a lesson in survival, where humans looked out for each other because the planet certainly wouldn't. "Because that's what humans do," she said finally. "We protect the pack, even the ones who don't think they're part of it yet." As Cooper left, Diana gathered her things and headed out into the corridor. The whispers would be different now, she knew. Not whispers of fear or curiosity, but something else. Respect, perhaps. Understanding. The Deathworld girl had warned the class once with words. The second warning had needed none at all. In the quiet of the empty lecture hall, Professor Zelthar examined the spine striker container, noting the precise timing of Diana's intervention in his incident report. Beside the entry, he added a personal note. Recommendation: invite human students to guest lecture on survival instincts and threat assessment. They possess knowledge the rest of the galaxy desperately needs to learn. Tomorrow's class would begin very differently indeed.